In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and the darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and morning were the first day. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. It's hard to imagine that only 400 years ago, there was no definitive Bible for the English-speaking people. In this documentary, I look back to a world of religious majesty and passion for the Word of God to show how King James brought the most powerful book in human history to the English-speaking world. The story of the King James Bible cannot be told without an understanding of the rise of the English language. History tells us that partial translations of the Bible into English date back as far as the end of the 7th century. John Wycliffe was one of the first to be credited with translating part of the Bible into English. The English Bible was originally translated from the Latin Vulgate into Old English by a very special group of monks and scholars. The Wessex Gospels are a full translation of the 4 Gospels into a form of Old English. Originally written in Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic, there were many attempts at organizing and validating the English text. However, it was not widely accepted and embraced until the King James Version was published. 2 English-speaking translations preceded: the Great Bible and the Bishop's Bible. King James was one of the most brilliant kings to reign over the UK. He reigned as king from 1567 to 1625. He was married to Anne of Denmark with 3 sons and 5 daughters. Ironically, he was one of the most hated kings. People disliked him because he was selfish and acted like a know-it-all. Nevertheless, he was the driving force behind bringing the most famous book of all of human history to English-speaking people. Although his name is synonymous with the English translation of the Holy Bible, King James himself had nothing to do with the process. His primary role was funding the project, organizing, and facilitating the scholars who actually did the tedious work of translating the original text to English. The Bible translations at the time, King James did not like, because he thought that the side notes persuaded disobedience to kings. So, he assembled a number of well-educated men that helped the working in the King James translation. The actual number of scholars assigned to this task is still in some debate to this day. History records between 47 and 54 men are attributed to this assignment, but 47 is widely accepted as accurate. Whatever the number of scholars, it is interesting to note that although the scholars were members of the Church of England, it is widely believed that not all involved in the translating were Christians. What we know for certain is they were some of the greatest scholars of their time, and were uniquely qualified for this job. The King James Bible was meant to be read in churches, so the translators gave special time and attention to the rhythm and punctuation to give the text a new oral quality. The start of the translating began in 1604. King James instructed his translators to conform to the theological study of the Christian Church. He also urged the scholars to show clear episcopal structure. This was the way of the Church of England during this time period. Above all, the goal was to produce a translation that the common person could understand. The King James Version is a word-for-word translation. There were 6 panels of translators appointed by King James. 2 oversaw the translation of the New Testament, 3 oversaw the translation of the Old Testament, and 1 oversaw the translation of the Apocrypha, which are writings or reports not considered genuine. The 6 groups worked separately, and once their work was finished, it was sent to the other panels for review, which included comments and revisions. The main members of the 6 panels then met to make the final decision on all suggested changes. There were many rules given to the various panels, 15 in all. The men obeyed each and every rule to the letter. In the original King James Version, the introduction states that the goal of the translation team was not to make a new translation, nor yet to make a bad one a good one, but to make a good one better. The first edition of the King James Bible was published in 1611. King James died almost 400 years ago, but the King James Bible continues to thrive, bringing men, women, boys, and girls to life-saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. I know, because I am one of them.